Hi and welcome to this video about the Z-Wave Alliance Compliance Test Tool version 3. So without further ado, let's dive right into it, shall we? What is the Compliance Test Tool, or as we call it, the CTT? The CTT is a Microsoft Windows-based application for testing the specification requirements in a Z-Wave device. In other words, this tool helps Z-Wave developers to pass self-certification tests that are required before any Z-Wave device is certified and can be sold on the market. Not only does it cover test specifications for end devices, but it also services Z-Wave compliant controllers and gateways. In its essence, the CTT contains test cases and scripts that are finely tuned to each and every Z-Wave command class according to the various specification documents. The independent test houses in the US, Europe, and Asia use the exact same tool to guarantee that your Z-Wave device is fully compliant, interoperable, and backwards compatible. We know that certification can be a burden on IoT developers, as it usually is the last stage of a development process while the deadline to bring a product on the market needs to be met. With the introduction of the CTT version 3, the primary goal was to provide a fully automated test suite in which all certification requirements are covered, so no other tool and manual tests are needed. Although the CTT can do many things when it comes to testing your Z-Wave device, there are limits to what the CTT can and cannot do. For example, let's say you have successfully managed to test and pass all required tests on your Z-Wave product with the CTT, and you're ready to submit your product to certification. Even though your tests have all passed, in some cases the test house might find some specification irregularities that were not part of the CTT and that need to be fixed as well. Also, the CTT does not test the core functionality of your application, so if you have some bugs in your code that are tied to how your product is supposed to work, the CTT will not detect those bugs. For example, let's say you have developed a Z-Wave thermostat and the controller is requesting the temperature in Fahrenheit. If the thermostat reports back the values in Celsius, the CTT will be able to detect this fault and will fail this test. If the thermostat, however, is reporting back a value of, say, 10,000 degrees in Fahrenheit, which is about the temperature on the surface of the sun, the CTT will not be failing this test. But you better check and correct your code before bringing this device. Let's now dig a little more into the main features of the CTT version 3 tool and demonstrate how it actually works. How to set up your project. Open the CTT version 3 tool and click on Create New CTT Project using Wizard to create a project of the device that you want to self-certify. You then provide it with a project name and a location where your project is stored on your local machine. You can then select between a project that is based on a Z-Wave certification portal test case or one that you want to enter manually and where a test case on the portal may not yet exist, for example. You then proceed by entering your portal credentials and password that you have set when you have registered your user account in the certification portal. The CTT will then visualize a list of all the test cases directly in the tool that you would otherwise be able to see if you were logged in on the portal directly via your web browser. Remember that we have previously chosen that our project is generated based on a portal case that has previously been created. We will then choose the relevant portal case and click Next, which will guide you to the setup window where you can manage all the relevant hardware devices such as controllers, slave devices, and sniffer that you need to connect in order to perform your self-certification tests. In addition to that, there's a link to a help page that describes how to set up your Silicon Labs development hardware both for the new 700 as well as the older 500 series Z-Wave chipsets. The next step is to include your device into the Z-Wave network with only a few simple clicks, after which, when successfully completed, the device data is then compared to the data of the certification form. Here you have the possibility to directly modify the data that is related to the certification form if it doesn't match the data from the device interview from the previous step. This saves you the hassle of going into the web portal and make modifications there, as all the data from the portal can now be modified in the CTT directly. You have now successfully created your project in a few steps, all contained in the CTT tool itself, and you are now ready for self-certification. Once you created the project, you will immediately see the CTT's form item view, which is an exact representation of what you would see on the C-Wave certification portal. In addition to that, the CTT version 3 now enables you to directly run all test cases that are relevant to each item number by having them conveniently listed below each item. You can either run them individually or all of them automatically in sequential order. It is as simple as pressing the little play button under the action column. After clicking the play button of an individual test case, another tab will open named Test Reporter, where you can see the status of the test as well as the final test result in the message log at the bottom. In addition to that, the message log also shows the entire log output of this test case, so you can further identify an error if something has gone wrong and the test case has failed. Another neat feature of the new CTT version 3 is that the test cases make use of the connected sniffer device to observe the C-Wave network and to make test assertions based on recorded sniffer traffic. They can also be accessed on demand via the CTT under the Test Reporter tab by clicking on the sniffer file path. Test cases use predefined security network keys, so recorded sniffer traces can be decrypted automatically without the users having to enter any security keys at all. When you go back to the form item view, you will now see that the form item test as well as the form item number have both passed. The CTT also allows you to immediately upload the test results to the certification portal by one simple click on the button highlighted here. After the synchronization with the portal server is completed, you will then see a notification in the ZCP result column indicating that the test has now successfully been uploaded to the portal. This feature completely removes the hassle of users having to manually update their test results on the portal for every test and saves a lot of time during self-certification. It is also possible to upload failed test results to the portal and even make comments to a particular test case result in the CTT. That way, whoever has access to your test case via the portal will be able to see the comments for the failed test, where users could, for example, explain why this particular test case failed. The CTT also has a resynchronization option, where changes from the certification portal can be conveniently resynced with the form item view in the CTT so that both the portal and the CTT are constantly in sync. Exporting individual test log files or all of them at once is just as easy as a single button click, which will export the test case logs in an HTML file, which you can use for sending test reports to the test house, for example. A few more key highlights and features of the new CTT version 3 tool. First, the set of test cases are always linked to a certification program version. This means that later recertifications with the CTT version 3 can use the same set of test cases as the original certification portal case. Most of the manual wiki page tests are replaced by automatic or semi-automatic test cases in CTT version 3. This means these test cases do not require tools like the PC controller or the sniffer tool anymore. CTT version 3 includes test cases that emulate slave devices for testing controlled command class requirements in C-Wave Plus version 2 controllers, which means there is no need for additional C-Wave sample apps or real-world C-Wave devices anymore. Also, device DSK pins are saved in CTT version 3, so they don't have to be entered on every device inclusion anymore. And last but not least, QR code scanning is supported to get the DSK from the device under test. Thanks for listening. I hope you will find it fun to use this new tool, and please go ahead and get started right away by downloading the new CTT version 3 tool from the Alliance website. We look forward to hearing your feedback and wish you happy certification.